Welcome to the Weekly Market Wrap-Up. I'm Hannah Bernard, and today we have a very special edition of the show because Brent Cook is joining us all the way from Solana Beach. So Brent, how is sunny California treating you?
It's treating us well. It's been nice and warm and sunny for months now.
Wonderful. So first off, Brent, could you do me a favor and just explain quickly to our viewers exactly what you do?
I'm a exploration geologist, economic geologist. I write an investment letter, Exploration Insights, which basically discusses what I'm buying and selling with my money in the sector, what I'm seeing in the sector. We focus on the junior and mostly the explorers or development companies. And that's basically what my letter is about. I also comment on, things I'm not buying as well and why.
So as a seasoned geologist, you would know that exploration is like a treasure hunt. So how hard is it to find where X marks the spot?
It's very, very hard. Some work that Newmont did a number of years back suggested that 1 out of 1,000 prospects turn into something economic, and 1 out of 10,000 make it to the actual tier 1 mega deposit that really makes the money for these companies. So just on a flat statistical basis, your odds are really, really low of any single prospect making it to a development project or a mine. Now, that can be improved dramatically with a lot of research, knowing what you're looking at, having a good sense of what a company's got and when to get out of a company. But the odds are pretty tough, and it's not getting any easier given that we've been exploring the Earth fairly well for, centuries, really. Mm-hmm. But over the past 20 or 30 years, the world has opened up. A lot of places that were no longer available for exploration became available in Africa, South America, Eurasia, that sort of thing. And that came online with the advent of satellite imagery. So things sitting at surface, even in difficult locations, for the most part have been found. Now it gets a lot tougher.
Mm-hmm. So for those investors that are trying to navigate throughout investment choices, in that average, 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000, what are you advising them to really look for in order to make those smart decisions?
Well, I think, the flip side of what I just said is that we are still using, on the whole, more metal than we're finding. Mm-hmm. That metal consumption is going up no matter what happens across the globe. And new deposits, economic deposits, are becoming increasingly valuable. So as an investor, what we need to do is as rapidly as possible identify a project that has the shot of making it to the economic stage, and then tracking that as closely as possible, because we know most of them are going to fail. But finding that fatal flaw is what we really need to spend our time to. And that I've done that enough times that we can make money on something that doesn't ultimately make it into an economic deposit. And better yet, if we find that 1 or 2 deposit every year that does make it economic, mm-hmm. there's a huge potential for profit there if you get in early.
Yeah, so obviously we've seen a bit of a slowdown. You've been talking about the last 20, 30 years. So what do you expect for the remainder of this year, 2015, for exploration?
I think it's going to be psychotic. We'll be jumping from enthusiasm to depression, back and forth. I think it's still a tough market out there. It's a very tough financing market. As I said, discoveries are getting harder and harder to make. Mm-hmm. But there will be some bright spots, and I think by the year end, the GDXJ, which is what I track, will be marginally higher, and I expect gold to be marginally higher as well.
Mm-hmm. So there's been some talk, you spoke at the Cambridge House Investment Conference this year in January about peak gold and specifically peak discovery. Where do you think things are at with that? And do you think that exploration is going to pick up with regards to discovery?
No, exploration is not picking up. It's still slowing down. Mm-hmm. We have reached, in my opinion, the peak discovery of economic deposits, and that's the key word there, economic, particularly in the gold sector. There are hundreds of deposits with technical resources on it, 43101 compliant. Yeah. But the vast majority of those are uneconomic or marginally economic. And I don't think these deposits are ever going to be worth much. I think it really comes down to the few deposits that are much more economic than the marginal ones. That's where you want to be. And for that reason, I think we have peak discovery. You look at the curve of the discoveries over the past 20 years, and it's just basically down.
Mm-hmm. So you talked about gold. What other resources are you excited for exploration, and trying to navigate through this? You said it's going to be a slowdown, but you have to be more careful. So what other resource are you looking at?
Well, I think really what it comes down to is identifying the highest quality deposit in any metal, be it nickel, copper, uranium, etc., because those are becoming more and more valuable. So I don't really stick to a particular metal per se, although I do prefer gold. Mm-hmm. I think it really comes down to finding that, 1 in 1,000 deposit that really works in any metal.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, Mount Pulley, tailings pond disaster up here in British Columbia. I'm sure you're familiar with it. The mining industry took a big hit, especially in Canada, from that. What's your assessment on disasters like that on the exploration market?
Well, certainly for North America, BC and Alaska particularly, it's going to add a lot more to the permitting timeline, the engineering that has to be done to get the permits for deposits that require tailings dams. So basically, it's just gotten more expensive and more difficult to find and develop a deposit in that part of the world. But that's always an issue. We're building mines in, tough locations, tough terrain, and there is inevitably going to be some sort of failure. That's just the way it is. But that happens in any industry. Look at
exactly.
Manufacturing plants that burn down or collapse, etc. It's part of the modern world.
Mm-hmm. People always just freak out when they hear a disaster, right? So lastly, just before I let you go, you were at the Cambridge House 2015 this last year, and in January on the 18th and 19th, and I wanted to see a little bit of what you felt excited about, a little bit of positivity on the floor there.
There's always positivity in Vancouver in January. It's a genetic thing, I think. But I think this time it may be justified. I think we need to sort out most of the companies that really aren't getting anything accomplished and focus on the ones that do. And I think that's going to happen over the year. And net, it'll be positive for those of us that really look at these things in detail.
Wonderful. Well, Brent, thank you so much again for taking the time to chat with us today, and we hope to have you on the show again soon.
Thank you, Hannah. I'd love to.
Awesome. And that wraps it up. Thanks again so much for for all of our viewers for joining us here on the Weekly Market Wrap-Up. Before you head out for the weekend, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel or podcast on iTunes, and find us on Facebook and on Twitter. For Bio Network News and Baystreet.ca, I'm Hannah Bernard.